Hi, all, and thank you for joining my podcast. Today on the Career Series, we have Prasheen Gopal, and he's here to tell us more about his actuary journey. Prasheen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Swiper, for having me. I'm sure it's nothing to do with the fact that I'm your cousin, but yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. So, Prasheen, I just wanted to dive into your actuary career, and I have a few questions and hoping you can share your journey with me and others throughout this call. So, first, I wanted to just chat to you about walking us through what your journey of actuary has been like, and also what are the challenges that you faced throughout your actuary certifications and journey.
Cool. That's a great question, Saurabh. I think for me personally, the two biggest challenges for me were just to stay focused and hardworking. It's a long journey, and also just the personal sacrifice that's involved in getting to be a qualified actuary in South Africa. So I think in terms of the hard work side of things, I'm sure many of your listeners slash viewers know that it's a long journey. I mean, there's 13 exams that we need to get through. Um, the first 10 are very technical, so a lot of maths and stats. So that came very naturally to me because I'm kind of inclined more
Okay.
to that side of stuff. Um, and those ones, you just need to like sit down and absorb material. And I think for me, I've just found those exams easier. I think the application stuff was a bit more difficult in the sense that it's not content based, it's more application based. And a lot of the stuff that you pick up is also not found in the notes, but more like in your
Mm.
interactions and working in the industry that we work in. So that was a bit of a challenge, at least for on my side. So, I mean, there was a lot of hard work in just like sitting behind a PC or sitting behind notes, trying to absorb the content,
Yeah.
trying to make the content interesting in your own personal way, because there is some topics that are maybe don't speak to a lot of people,
Mm.
or speak to a very few amount of people that actually pursue this career. Um, and yeah, just be motivated. I think I was very lucky in the sense that I had a good support structure when I was in university. I had good friends that kept me grounded, kept me humble, kept me focused on the goals that we all collectively wanted to achieve. Um, and yeah, just just having a good support structure really helped me. I think in the workplace, what really also helped me was having a good manager or good people that you work with.
Yeah.
They kind of pushed you emotionally and also mentally, and could press on the right buttons to make sure that I was doing well at work, but also not just that, but also focusing on passing the exams while I was working at the same time. I'm sure you probably know this through Harshan that it's not just the exams. Also, you also need to be you also need to do 3 years of work experience,
Yeah.
and in that 3 year time span, um, the manager effectively needs to sign off stuff. So obviously, you want to be in a position where you are competent in your skills, and I think having a good manager and a good and working in a good environment will also help. So that for me helped me a lot. I think for me, another challenge was just balancing time well. So when I went off to university, I left home and I had this sudden sense of freedom where I didn't
Yeah.
have a support structure around, and people can kind of go AWOL around that. So just making sure that I was kind of put my foot down,
Mhm.
and balancing. I think balancing is key there. I think you also kind of emotionally maturing, so you're also becoming an adult at the same time. So you also want to enjoy university. You want to go out. You want to because it's a very special time in your life, and the last thing you want to do is actually sit behind a desk and books for most of the year. So getting a balance was key for me, and I think I struggled a bit initially, and then eventually I got into a groove. So that was key for me. And something that I struggled with initially I think also in uni, but more so at work, was a bit of imposter syndrome. So, am I good enough to be around qualified actuaries?
Yeah.
Am I good enough to be in university where everyone in the class had good marks from high school?
Mhm.
So those for me, Saurabh, were the biggest challenges in my career.
Yeah, and I think you talk about a lot of things that resonates with us as millennials or Gen Z could possibly
Yeah,
resonate with in the workplace. And you talk about focus and having, your support structure and things. And I think that's so imperative to have from a
yeah.
young age. And obviously, you had moved provinces and had to deal with all that whilst struggling. So, a very big props up to you for having managed all
Thank you.
that. Um, how do you see the actuary profession evolving with regards to advancements in technology and data analytics, etc.?
Um, sure. That's another great question. I think the top two sort of areas that we kind of evolving at a very fast pace is, I think, just the sheer data that we can actually get insights from. So advanced data and analytics. So I think a buzzword in the financial sector is this term called big data,
Mhm.
where we have so much of data in the background that how do we go about actually accessing that, and how do we go about actually using that data to
Yeah.
help improve services we give to clients, or services that can lead to a fruitful outcome. So, I mean, there's complex data sets, and how do we get insights? So I think a lot of work has been currently being done in terms of building programs, or getting insights, or hiring the right people now that have a background in data analytics. And I think for us as actuaries, we have to sort of upskill ourselves as well,
Hmm.
because this is kind of our status quo going forward. And then not just like doing the nitty gritty work, but also how do I get the insights from this? How do I apply it in the field itself? So um, a lot of softer skills also involved there. I think on a side mission on terms of that point is also predictive analytics. So if you have a lot of data, how can you use the data to aid future projects or predict certain things?
Hmm.
So I definitely think that's key. Another thing is just coding. I think with this whole AI and generative AI coming along, I think coding has been a big talking point.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think the your typical actually using Excel and stuff isn't gonna necessarily cut it anymore.
Hmm.
I personally I've had to learn on the job Python, SQL, etc.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely those are the two things that I feel that are evolving with the advancement of technology in the actuarial profession.
That's interesting to hear, actually. And in saying all of this in terms of your upskilling, what does a typical day in your life look like in your role at the moment?
Yeah, so I think for me, it varies for across industries. So I mean, maybe context for your viewers slash listeners is, I work in a life insurance company.
Okay.
So, and I work in the financial reporting side of stuff. So I think for me, two main things that happen every day. I think the days are very different depending on like reporting cycles and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But I think there's two main core structures that as an actuary in my team perform. Number one is problem solving. So I think as actuaries, we are intrinsically problem solvers. So there's a lot of like cross team collaboration, a lot of uh, kind of like where can we add value for shareholders slash policyholders. Um, uh, do we need to speak to other teams, like a lot of cross team collaboration, so not just teams within my space, but teams within like the broader insurance industry that I work in. So a lot of that happens. And I think another thing, because I'm kind of senior in my role now, a lot of project management. So I find
Okay,
myself,
that's
yeah, so
interesting.
I do find myself very involved in project management. So from a point of view of leading projects, making sure that things are being done at the correct pace, checking up on people, and it's just sort of setting out key guidelines or goals in terms of every week or every 2 weeks, what do we want to achieve, which is typically not what I initially signed up for, but I'm kind of getting used to it now.
And
Yeah,
in your journey and in your role, what do you
yeah.
think are the key skills needed in the actuary field?
Um, I think there's there's many skills that are needed. I think I spoke about this a bit earlier. It's just perseverance, number one. So I think just be there's a lot to get through. It's I mean there's 13 exams, 3 years of work experience, so it's a long journey to get through. I think being strong-willed and strong-minded and just having a
Mhm.
persevering mind is definitely top of mind, at least from my own experience. And trying to, even when things look a bit bad, trying to not give up and trying to move on with things, especially around exam time, etc. I think having a mindset where you are eager to learn. I think just being curious about what you are doing in terms of content of work, or even in your studies themselves. Just being curious. At least for me, I found that spurred me on to, like, study a bit more, or made studying at least interesting for me. So just having that curiosity about what you are doing,
Mhm.
and just questioning stuff, because I think a lot of people go into the profession not having that questioning mindset in terms of why are we doing this way, because it's been done 20 years along the same way. Can I not just do it a different way and get to the same conclusion? So I think that's definitely a key thing. um, I mean, coding, another skill to have. To be honest, I have no coding experience throughout high school and throughout university. So I came into the workspace being kind of like a blank canvas in terms of coding. So I was lucky to have very good colleagues to impart knowledge onto me. So that was key. Um, I mean, I think the obvious other ones are like analytical skills, problem solving, technical skills, stuff like that. But I think one skill that is often overlooked is just having very good soft skills. So I mean, most actuaries have high IQ, but not
Yes.
necessarily very high EQ. And I think because we work with a lot of people from like different generations, and
Yeah.
me being a millennial now working with Gen Zs, it's just there is a communication barrier.
Yeah,
So you
definitely.
need to meet people halfway. You need to be strong in your softer skills, um, and I think that also helps in terms of, like, at the end of the day, you're not working by yourself. You're working with a team of people. So just how do you bring along people of different backgrounds, different cultural
Mhm.
backgrounds as well, along the journey with you?
Yeah, and I think that that brings so much of perspective into how to hone your skills into your everyday life and work
Yeah,
with every sort of person out there with their
yeah,
different skills and soft skills.
yeah, yeah.
How do you see the role of actually changing in the next decade? And what are you most excited about in the next 5 years of your journey?
Um, I'll I'll answer the first question, the part one of that question. For me, I think there's a lot of challenges facing actuaries right now. I think in South Africa, probably the biggest challenge is inclusivity. I think, I mean, it's the actual society of South Africa is definitely becoming more inclusive in terms of race,
Okay,
gender,
that's good to hear.
disability and stuff like that. So I think definitely we've been making strides in that sphere, but there's still work to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done, and I think that's sits with most professions or most
Mhm.
topics in South Africa, unfortunately. So just kind of moving the ball on that there. Um, I also think just keeping up with technological change. So I talked about coding previously as well, and any improvements or advancements in that day. I think it's our responsibility to upskill ourselves as actuaries, to remain relevant, because obviously you want to remain relevant. You don't want AI to make your
Yeah.
job redundant. So where you can add value, I think you definitely need to upskill yourself in adding that value to your team, to your industry, and maybe just to the society itself, profession itself rather. Um, I think typically actuaries are, I mean, most people think that we work in insurance firms or health insurance or something wrong with pensions, but there's a lot of advancements or expansion of our roles, because fundamentally we are problem solvers. And, like, I know we have a very strong technical background,
Yeah.
but we are problem solvers. So um, a problem, a set of skills that is geared towards problem solving. You can kind of use that in many contexts. So I know a lot of actuaries now that are working in climate change, ethical decisions.
Okay.
Some of them advise the government on certain things to do. So I think definitely that's something that's likely to happen more often now. And then something that just came to my mind is, how do we move the profession forward? So uh, I think what's been done 20 years ago, 30 years ago, is not going to necessarily be the same thing that needs to be done in the next 50
Definitely.
years.
Yeah.
Especially with people like my generation or the Gen Zs or Gen Alphas that are going to come
Mm,
out of it. How do we make the profession relevant? I think that's the question. How do we make it relevant for future actuaries so that we
mm,
not only uphold a high level of standard in terms of our technical skills and problem solving skills, but how do we make it an attractive profession for people going forward? I think that's a question I
mm.
often. I mean, we kind of speak about it at work, and I think only time will tell, as if like how we can actually reach that point. And I know the society as a whole is actually getting traction in terms of how do we make the society relevant going forward. So I think that's topical at the moment. And then what am I excited for the next 5 years? I want to be selfish and say many promotions. But I mean, yeah, besides being selfish, I think I honestly just want to improve my skill set, working on different projects, getting a wide range of skills. My manager often speaks to, like, you have this like proverbial toolbox that you carry around with you, and every project that you do, you add new tools into that toolbox. So
That's a good
I wanna,
analogy.
yeah, I know. Yeah. So she often tells me that there. So I'm trying to sort of contextualize and like make sure that, different projects that I work on, I get some sort of tool to add in so that
Mm,
my skills don't remain stale over time. And then I think what has helped me is that I've had a very strong support structure at work, and I've had people take me along the journey with them. A lot of senior actuaries or people in around my level of work experience, and I think I would like to do that the same that other people have done for me to the next generation of actuaries. So helping them move forward, whatever help they need, whether it's technical
100%.
skills. I'm pretty sure I don't understand, or not understand, but rather remember most of my university work. But I think I'm hoping to just to help out with balance there, or show them new skills, or just teach them along the way, because I know I benefited from it, and I hope that other people can also benefit from my skill set.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because the purpose of having these videos are
Yeah.
to actually entrench that to anyone who'd like to hone into what it's
Yes.
like to be there. And in this way, we also
Yeah.
sort of mentoring and assisting. But
Yes.
Prasheen, thank you so much for joining me on today's session. And here's to hoping that you add more to your toolbox and to your future promotions. And all the best in your journey.
Thank you, Sarabha. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.